Steve, his name is Quinshon at Judkins. I don't know how many people have asked me, how do you say that? But I got to say that I discovered him about 3 or 4 games into the 2022 season watching an Ole Miss game, because he was not that highly touted coming out of high school. And bam, he lit it up, and he went on a stretch of games in the SEC last year and got going a little bit later this year, but 34 carries in the bowl game against Penn State. So they squeezed him dry before they let him go at Ole Miss.
Yeah. 5'11", 210 pounds, and it looks like this is quite an insurance policy for Ohio State. If Travion Henderson does decide to go on to the NFL, and obviously those players have until, I believe, Monday, January the 15th might be the deadline for players who are looking to make their NFL decision. So still a few days left, and Ohio State obviously, Marvin Harrison, you got to figure is gone, but JT Tuimoloau, Denzel Burke, and Travion Henderson, 3 of the big ones that are still out there for the Buckeyes. And Quinshon Judkins gives Ohio State some insurance in case Travion Henderson leaves, and even if he doesn't. Travion Henderson last 2 years has missed 3 or 4 games each of the last 2 years due to injuries. And so you need somebody to pick up that slack. Obviously, they had 3 running backs leave the fold, with Mayan Williams leaving and then going to the NFL, and Evan Pryor and Chip Trayanum transferring out. So Judkins rushed for over 2,700 yards the last 2 years at Ole Miss. He had 14 100-yard games and a pair of 200-yard games, one against Arkansas and one against Texas A&M. So this is a guy that's got some NFL potential. And I think in his case, he said he wanted to play for a national championship. If I look at the rankings, Ole Miss finished 9th and Ohio State finished 10th in the final AP poll. So he's got every bit of shot of playing for one at Ole Miss as he does at Ohio State, especially with the 12-team playoff coming on. And of course, I'm jesting, because Ohio State typically is right up there at the top, but we'll see if he can help be part of the cause here at Ohio State to get the Buckeyes back on top in the Big Ten and potentially in that national championship picture in 2024. My people at Ole Miss say he does view himself as a 3 and done. And so probably after next season, expect him to be gone, and certainly that'll be, if Henderson comes back, it'd be his last season. So there'll be a tremendous vacuum at the running back position after next season, with at least with both those guys likely gone after next season.
Yeah, I think my big question with Quinshon Judkins is what happened this year, because he had the same number of carries, but he rushed for 400 fewer yards. His average dropped from 5.7 yards per carry to 4.3. He got a slow start, but then he started to pick it up. And it kind of reminds me of J.K. Dobbins' sophomore year, where he couldn't get anything going after a strong freshman year and then bounced back with 2,003 yards as a junior. I'm not expecting 2,003 yards from Judkins, but I think this is a good move for him, because he has right now, I think he has 99 more carries in his career in his 2 years than Travion Henderson has in his 3 years. This guy needs to go somewhere where he can split carries and just have some mileage left for the NFL. And it is tremendous insurance for Travion Henderson, who will miss, he played, he stayed healthy as a freshman, but he wasn't necessarily the workhorse right out of the gate. Obviously dealt with injuries this past year and the year before. So those two together, you would expect them to be available for most games. We'll see what happens with Dallin Hayden. I know people are concerned about that, but I don't think you worry about Dallin Hayden when you're going after Quinshon Judkins. And everybody knows this is a 1-year thing, but Travion Henderson is a 1-year thing. If he comes back, we're talking like he's coming back. He still has to make that announcement. But together, these two, and along with a quarterback who will run the ball more, could be getting back to a more 2019 offense, 2020 offense, where Ohio State dominated in the run game under Ryan Day. People don't like to think about that or don't remember that when Ohio State was the best running team in the Big Ten. Maybe they can get back to that. And, we'll talk about the offensive line, I'm sure, at some point. But this is obviously a very good thing for Ohio State and plenty to like.
Yeah, just to try and see if I can touch on some different points than Tony and Steve did. We talk about this being insurance, but I think this is very much a complimentary move. I think that hopefully the plan is that Trevion is going to be back. And there is a lot of football that can be played with a 12-team playoff situation. You can play up to 17 games if you have to play a first-round game. Obviously, we have no precedent to know if anybody's going to be able to play a first-round game and then be able to get all the way and win a championship, because we've not done this 12-team playoff. But you could still technically be playing 16 games or something like that. I mean, I guess 17. You 12 plus 1 plus 3, so 16, I guess. You got to figure out what it is that, kind of slowed Quinshon down. I watch Ole Miss, as I've said on our shows before. My wife went to Ole Miss, so I watch, I'm married to Ole Miss, so I have to watch a little bit more of it. And, I don't necessarily know what their line play was, what was going on there, what was different between 22 and 23. But a lot of people that I've talked to have said that, just when it comes to on the field, Quinshon Judkins may be the best back in college football. And, that's a lofty statement, but a lot of people that I respect the opinions of have said that. Now, how does Quinshon adjust to a change of scenery? Does he flourish with it? I mean, obviously, this is something that he prompted by putting himself in the portal. And, I'm sure that the Ole Miss offense with Lane Kiffin in charge would have, they don't want to see 2,700 yards walking out the door. But, that's Ohio State's gain. And to Tony's point, this really could balance out the offense a little bit more with the running ability of Will Howard at quarterback, for Ohio State not to be that team that is absolutely struggling on 3rd and short and 4th and short, and you figure they're just going to have to pass because of their inability to run. You put Trevion in there, you put Quinshon in there, or you have Will Howard keep it. I think Ohio State's efficiency on converting those shorties is going to go up in a major way.
Quinshon Judkins was nicked up early in the season. I don't remember. I do remember at the time him being injured. I've looked it up. I can't find the extent of the injury. It obviously wasn't that serious because he continued to step on the field, but I know that he was nicked up, and I don't know what the injury was. But yeah, he did find it more difficult to gain yardage. But I know when I first saw him, I thought, who is this guy? Wow. And he's been and it's people have asked, is he a speed guy? Is he a power guy? Yes, he is. He is both of those things. He's that guy. And to Kevin's point as well, it would be nice, and to Tony's point, to have 2 guys in the backfield. Ever since Carlos Hyde, it seems like there's been one dominant back, and then there's a drop off. Even if the distribution the last few years has been fairly equal at times, there's an obvious number one when he's healthy, versus having 2 guys that are at that status would be a big thing for the Buckeyes, I would think.
Yeah, Mark, looking forward to getting back to the Boom Herron Brandon Sane days. Good for you.
Yes, that's what I was. Yes, that's exactly the tandem I had in mind. Yes, Tony reading my mind. Perfect.
I'm never going back to that.
Well,
sorry.
We don't know if you're.
I don't think it's any of our choices.
Yes.
Boom Herron was a very good running back, though. He's very underrated, as Antonio Pittman was. But I just thought I'd throw that in there for you, Mark.